This vast green tapestry keeps treasures that were generously donated by nature. Different species of flora and fauna face the cycle of life among rivers and jungles. In this exuberant universe that still hides secrets all unknown to the outside world. It may seem easy to live surrounded by so much natural beauty, but it's not. To survive here, it is necessary to learn to overcome the challenges imposed by nature itself and aggravated by man. The Amazon. The Amazon forest is the largest rainforest in the world. All this green area corresponds to 40% of South America and more than half of Brazil, almost 7 million square kilometers. About 4 million lie in Brazilian territory. It is an area the size of the European Union. It is possible to fly over dense vegetation for over 2 hours without seeing anything else but the jungle. Lots of jungle. Underneath this vastness hides the biggest river basin of the world, the Amazon basin. The rivers that form the Amazon basin account for 1/5 of the total water drained into oceans by all the rivers in the planet. This universe of animal and plant lives survives on extremes fed by 2 cycles: the drought and the flood. This is one of the rainiest places of the planet. The humidity is strongly influenced by the seasonality of the rains from the north and the south of the equator. The water from the rain can make the rivers overflow, but it also plays a fundamental role in the maintenance of the Amazon ecosystem. Many times, the water does not even reach the soil. It is retained by the several layers of vegetation, being rapidly absorbed or evaporating when the rain is over. However, there are periods of non-stop rain. This is when the rivers go into the jungle. The water level raises an average of 10 meters, but it can reach up to 18 meters in some places. For half of the year, beginning in December, 2% of the forest stays submerged. It may seem little, but it's not. The submerged area represents an area of jungle larger than England, characterizing the largest submerged forest area on Earth. Life and death walk together in this forest of contrasts. Every year, the drastic change in the level of the water affects everything that lives here. During the drought, the beaches formed by the lower level of water in the rivers become big nurseries for turtles. The fertilization of these reptile eggs lasts for 2 months. The eggs are buried in the sand to prevent the action of predators. Generally, turtles are born protected by darkness and in great quantities. There could be 100,000 of them at once. When adults, Amazon turtles can weigh up to 80 kilos and be up to 90 centimeters long. Even though every nest can have more than 100 eggs, it is estimated that only 1 in every 1,000 turtles who reach the water gets to the adult age. As soon as they are born, they learn that living may not be an easy task. These look like city lights, but they are the hungry eyes of the most ferocious of all the predators who live here. The Amazon jungle is territory of the black caiman in Brazil. The alligators exchange the water for the land in order to reproduce. The female hides the eggs in the vegetation close to the rivers and creeks. The birth is a special moment for researchers who discover the mysteries of a much observed forest such as this one.
A temperatura que os ovos são incubados, são chocados, que vai determinar o sexo, se vai nascer macho, se vai nascer fêmea. Esse aqui, provavelmente, como está na sombra, é um ninho frio. Então vai nascer basicamente ou só fêmeas ou principalmente fêmeas. Quando o ninho está no sol, nós temos machos.
The black caiman seems fragile at birth, but this is misleading. This reptile, a relative of the crocodile, has a long life. It can live up to 80 to 100 years. Other species that live in the forest also take advantage of the beaches that appear in the dry season to deposit their eggs. The gulls, here in the Amazon, are known as gaivotas. And procreating, they spread hundreds of eggs on the sand. The nestlings are precocious and enthusiastic. They begin to walk on their second day of life. With so many eyes looking for food, the animals develop some defense strategies. This one tries to attract potential predators, while the nestling pretends to be dead. The dry season increases the bird population in the forest. They come searching for easy food. prey becomes more visible in the sandbanks that are created with the low tide. The low water volume in the rivers makes the fish more vulnerable to predators. They are everywhere. In the fight for survival, today's prey can be tomorrow's predator. The law of the strongest is what rules. In this jungle, danger can be behind a big beak. To be always on the lookout for their prey is an easy task for the alligators. With prominent eyes and nostrils, these feared predators can stay submerged, waiting for the right time to attack. The black caiman is a constant threat to the Amazon man as well. Some fishermen risk themselves in the capture of the animal. Courage and speed are needed to face the beast.
Tem que ter o segredo, tem que pegar pela nuca, né? E a utilidade dele é o rabo, só que eu tô com o rabo dele dentro d'água, ele não bate ainda. Esse é o predador legítimo aqui da região, é esse aqui, né? Ele fica sempre na moita, esperando os cardumes descer, né?
Also known as the black alligator, this animal is a carnivore, a ferocious devourer. It feeds from almost all the animals in the forest, from birds to mammals and fish. The black caiman is the biggest among the South American alligators. It can be up to 6 meters long and weigh 300 kilos. It used to be in the endangered animals list. However, 40 years ago, hunting of wild animals was prohibited in Brazil, and the Amazon now has a huge population of black caiman alligators. To dive into the rivers that cut through the forest is to get to know a universe that goes beyond prey and predator. The headwaters of the huge Amazon basin can offer an additional spectacle. The bubbles that appear on the sand reveal a geological fault that takes groundwater to the surface. The source would be underneath the small river of crystal water that goes through the jungle. Beauty and danger can walk together when it comes to wildlife. The Amazon stingray has a venomous stinger at the tip of its tail. This fish can remain inactive in the sand at the bottom of the rivers for a long time. This is the reason why, when it moves, it leaves behind residues accumulated onto its skin. It is estimated that 3,000 species of fish live in the rivers of the Amazon forest. One of the most feared fish is the electric eel, known as poraqué. It emits signs to orient itself and to locate its prey. This is a typical example in which appearances are deceiving. Its size is not frightening, but one of these animals is able to kill a person with a 500-volt discharge. One of the big fishes at the bottom of the river is the jau. According to the forest population's folk stories, because of its large size, it's known to have swallowed people. It can be up to 2 meters long. The several different species that dwell at the bottom of the Amazon rivers share their habitat with tree trunks brought there by the floods. Despite staying submerged for a good part of the year, the vegetation is exuberant. The rainwater feeds a new life cycle. The landscape changes once again, and the green forest regains its color. The flora is very rich. There are more than 30,000 types of plants here, 2,500 species of trees, which represents 1/3 of the planet's tropical wood. The trees here are resilient. They can survive up to 6 months underwater. The big rivers now have competition, and it is possible to navigate through new routes that appear with the floods. Those who do not develop special abilities cannot escape from these soaked areas. The squirrel monkey is a primate that likes to live at the top of the forest's highest trees, at 30 to 40 meters above the ground. Rarely does it come to the ground. It is a very agile animal, and its survival instinct kicks in when the rivers inundate the forest. Not overcoming the challenge of the high waters would mean starvation. Its fruit, insect, and tree sap-based diet can be moved far away. The squirrel monkeys are very well known around the world. Until the 80s, they were targets for hunters. The animals were captured and exported to countries in the northern hemisphere. Today, they are safe. Hunting is prohibited. In a gigantic forest such as this one, it is necessary to have wide open eyes and attentive ears. In order to notice the wildlife, looking is not enough. Observing is required. There is infinite variety around here, many times blended in with the colors of the jungle. The eyes, little by little, get used to the forest. Where only leaves could be seen, more life appears. What seems to be just a piece of tree trunk at first glance reveals the long-tailed putu's camouflage strategy in the jungle's fight for survival. Examples of mimetism are all around. For those who are calm and patient, the Amazon reveals itself. Rich in flora and fauna, the soil of the Amazon forest is poor in nutrients and has a rather fragile ecosystem. The tree crowns can reach up to 40 meters high and completely shade the ground. For kilometers and kilometers, the sun rays hardly touch the soil. Most of the flowers blossom in the crowns, far from the ground. The forest's regeneration depends upon its own organic material and those of the animals. When they eat, they disperse the seeds, renovating the forest. Monkeys are some of the contributors of this renovation. 81 species have been identified in the Amazon region. The experts' explanation for so many primates is the proximity with the Andes mountain range, a home for these animals, and also the great amount of rivers and the preserved diversified forest. Near the border of Bolivia, we find the smallest monkey in the world, the pygmy marmoset, which is so small that it fits in the palm of one's hand. It is 15 centimeters tall and weighs only 70 grams. The pygmy marmoset has a powerful set of teeth able to chew the wood from the trees to eat the sap. If the sap doesn't drip right away, this little animal doesn't stay there waiting. It makes a mark on the tree and returns the following day to get it. This is the white-faced saki, or parawaku, also known as old monkey because of the light fur on its head. It has sharp teeth and a strong jaw. It uses its force to break seeds and chestnuts, its favorite foods, not always appreciated by other animals. The night monkey wants to be away from the sun. It is the only monkey in the American continent to have nocturnal habits. It lives in the highest trees and is rarely seen. It hides almost in the whole day and only comes out to find food after the sun is set. Spider monkeys also fight for their space in this green universe. Researchers recognize 4 species and 16 subspecies of spider monkeys. With extended arms and legs, a long tail, and expanded abdomen, they look like a gigantic spider, hence the name. They are agile animals, able to jump up to 8 meters far. They go from tree crown to tree crown in search for fruits, but they also enjoy the ample space the forest offers them. Jumping from branch to branch can be a great advantage for whoever lives in a forest surrounded by water. In the Amazon forest, the rivers are the roads. It couldn't be different in the forest that is also the world of the waters. Here runs the longest river in the world, the Amazon. Approximately 170 kilometers longer than the Nile River in Africa, the Amazon River represents 20% of all the fresh liquid water of the planet. The river flows out of the Andes mountain range in Peru and crosses the equator, having tributaries on both hemispheres. There are millions of water routes that intercept with each other to form the Great Amazon Basin. The Amazon cuts through the forest to reach the Atlantic Ocean, flowing into the sea 175,000 cubic meters of water per second in the ebb tide periods. In the flood season, it goes up to 202,000 cubic meters per second. Life in this water world is a challenge that doesn't spare anybody. No one knows exactly how many communities live here. There are children and adults living practically isolated from everything in the heart of the jungle. These traditional populations are the true guardians of this human race treasure. Their presence is essential to restraining men's predatory actions. Fishing means survival for all inhabitants of the forest. Many times, fish is the only available food for those who live so secluded from the rest of the world. Being able to guarantee their provisions from what nature gives them is a lesson that these people learn early on. Many are born, grow up, and die here in these little communities by the river. Away from the cities, they all learn to live a happy life, integrated with the environment, in peace with the forest. The different forms of life in this distant forest fill it up with sounds. But the great voices of the forest are the birds. Almost 1,000 species of birds have been identified in this world, where life is renewed every day. From the smallest to the biggest, here the birds are like nature jewels in a unique combination of colors. These birds, that remind us of parrots, are called white-bellied kaiki. They can live up to 40 years, but in size, they look always young. They don't grow beyond 23 centimeters. The female woodpecker chooses holes that it finds in dry tree trunks to make a house. The woodpecker's nest has to always be ready by the end of the year, when the female lays from 2 to 4 eggs. The nest serves as a shelter during 2 weeks until the eggs hatch. The black skimmer is one of the most skilled fishers around here. The bird fishes with its beak close to the water. It is so agile when it comes to flying that it can recover its street in the air. In these regions not touched by men, birds live and reproduce themselves freely. The reproduction period of Brazil's symbol bird, the rufous-bellied thrush, is about a month. The nest is made of sticks and mud. It usually receives 3 eggs. It takes 13 days for the eggs to be hatched by the female. When the offspring is born, the job is divided. Mom and Dad alternate turns feeding the hungry chicks. In the first few days, the diet is based only on worms, a protein source to guarantee their growth. The nestlings spend the entire day sleeping. They only wake up to eat. Because they don't have feathers yet, they need to be warmed. As soon as they receive the food, the nestlings throw away a pile of feces that is removed immediately from the nest to avoid parasites. The thrush grows quickly. In 5 days, they are much bigger and with some feathers. And they are able to open their eyes. The dispute for the food increases and the nest grows smaller. Their diet also changes. Besides worms, they start eating fruits. With a little more than a week of life, the chicks are curious. They take care of their feathers, exercise their wings, and receive visits. Covered in feathers, the young birds attempt to fly. But fear needs to be overcome to reach freedom. If the quantities of birds seem to increase with the dry season in the forest, the quantities of fish decrease drastically. It doesn't even look like the water world. This image reminds of a serious ecological accident, but it is one of the consequences of the drought. Rivers of 10 to 12 meters deep in times of flood hardly have half-meter in dry periods. The temperature of the water that's left becomes so unbearable, reaching up to 40 degrees. It's too hot for those who depend on the water to live. In normal conditions, the temperature of the Amazonian rivers is approximately 27 degrees Celsius. It is a useless fight. The fishes try desperately to breathe away from the abundance of water they are used to. The bottom of the river becomes muddy and the fish get stuck. The ebb tide periods of the rivers are a threat to one of Amazon's symbols, the dolphin. Two species live here. The tucuxi is small and gray. The Amazon River dolphin is bigger and also known as pink river dolphin. The people of the jungle say that these are the kings of the fresh water. They love to eat and need from 4 to 5 kilos of fish per day to be satisfied. The Amazon dolphins can have a long life. They are protected by the Brazilian environmental laws. The pink river dolphin can match the big animals of the forest as far as size, weighing up to 160 kilos and measuring up to 2 meters long. Living in the water has its fun side, at least for the kids. Total harmony with nature is one of the great lessons that life teaches here. Recognized as one of the countries with the greatest biological diversity in the world, Brazil has its natural riches constantly threatened. The rhythm of the deforestation decreased after 2005, but it's still a concern. And to destroy the green around here means to attract long droughts, because less green means smaller capacity of the forest to induce rain. Official numbers indicate that almost 18% of the Brazilian Amazon forest has already been destroyed. It is over 700,000 square kilometers, an area of almost the size of Germany and France put together. The forecast for 2020 is horrifying. 25% of the green should have disappeared. The expansion of agricultural activities and the illegal extraction of wood continue to be the biggest problems. The destruction takes urban elements into the jungle. The ample green carpet is cut by roads, many of which are clandestine. By these roads, the exploiters remove the trees and make more profits. The wood that is left over is always burned to create pasture areas. These illegal fires cause devastating damages, expelling everything that lives here. It is also a real threat to the communities of the first inhabitants of the jungle that still live in the heart of the Great Forest. Around 21% of the Brazilian Amazon forest is protected indigenous territories. The Caiabe village, with its 1,056,000 hectares, shelters a little more than 100 natives. It is as if this small group alone occupied half of Puerto Rico. There is always a lot of people ready to take over such vast lands. But for those who only know how to fish and hunt for a living, losing space in this natural habitat means death. Criminal actions are threatening one of the greatest beauties of the world. But in many instances, the jungle protects itself and hides in reachable places. This is one of the most isolated areas in the forest. The mountain range extends over 200 kilometers. The springs of one of the rivers that cut through the jungle surprises anybody. They are nature's explosions that flow from almost 1,200 meters high. Great extensions of this green Brazil became national parks and reservations. Today, 43% of the Brazilian Amazon is legally protected. It is almost 2,100,000 square kilometers of preserved life. A sigh of relief to the inhabitants of this region of such diverse climate conditions. This vastness of water that feeds the biggest tropical forest in the world and allows the droughts to come every year turns everything and everyone around here into an army of warriors. Only those who are strong and have great capacity for adaptation can live in a forest like this. Animals and men, capable of overcoming the challenges of the dry and wet periods imposed by nature or brought by the hands of men, find here a green paradise in which to breed the future generations filled with success.